Have you ever been in a conversation where someone suddenly stops talking and the silence feels so loud it's almost unbearable? Here's a stat that might surprise you. According to a study published in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology, even just 4 seconds of silence in conversation can cause discomfort. 4 seconds. That's it. Why does that matter? Because our discomfort with silence often causes us to rush, to talk over others, or to fill space with noise instead of meaning. But what if I told you that silence could be your greatest communication strength? Welcome back to Stoic Thinker. Today we're going to talk about something you probably haven't given much thought to. Silence. Not awkward silence. Not giving the cold shoulder silence. I mean strategic, purposeful silence. The kind that can turn the tide of a negotiation, completely shift the tone of an argument, or make you the most trusted person in the room. Think about it. In a world where we're bombarded with noise, tweets, notifications, meetings, podcasts, videos, silence feels rare. But that's what gives it power. Most of us are taught from a young age to speak up, to contribute, to assert ourselves, and that's great to a point. But very few of us are taught when not to speak. That's the gap. We'll unpack how silence works in different settings, why it's uncomfortable, and how you can start using it like a pro in your personal and professional life. We'll back it up with stories, real-life situations, expert perspectives, and practical tips you can apply today. Let's start with something universal. Silence makes most people uneasy. If you've ever been in a conversation where there's a pause and you feel the urge to jump in just to keep things going, you know what I mean. We're conditioned to think that silence equals failure, that if we're not talking, we're not contributing. In job interviews, people rush to answer before the question is even finished. In meetings, we jump in with opinions before we fully process what was said. In relationships, we fill emotional moments with explanations or justifications instead of letting the moment sit. Psychologists call this communication anxiety. It's the fear that silence means something's wrong, that it makes us look incompetent, unprepared, or unfriendly. But often, it's the opposite. This need to fill silence creates noise, literal and figurative. And when there's too much noise, we miss things. We misinterpret others. We don't listen as deeply. We speak reactively instead of reflectively. Here's what it looks like. Someone asks a question. You feel pressure to respond immediately, so you blurt out a half-formed answer. You're in an argument, and instead of pausing to understand what the other person said, you launch into defense mode. You're networking, and instead of letting someone finish their thought, you jump in with your elevator pitch. Each of these moments could be dramatically improved with just a few seconds of silence. Let's explore silence as a tool in 5 key areas: negotiations, conflict, listening, leadership, and relationships. We'll include expert advice, practical techniques, and real-life examples. 1. Negotiation. Silence in negotiation is more than a tactic, it's a signal. It communicates patience, confidence, and discipline. Chris Voss, a former FBI hostage negotiator, teaches that silence after a question or offer compels the other person to speak. The most powerful phrase in negotiation is, "Let the silence do the work," he says. Example. In one corporate case, a manager negotiating a software contract paused for 8 full seconds after the vendor offered a price. The vendor, visibly uncomfortable, then offered a 15% discount without being asked. That pause saved the company thousands. Lesson: present your offer clearly. Then stop talking. Maintain eye contact. Keep your posture open. If the silence stretches, resist the urge to qualify or add to your statement. Try this with a friend or co-worker in a role play. See how long you can sit in silence after a proposal. 2. Conflict and difficult conversations. In conflict, silence gives space for you to breathe, to think, and to avoid saying something you'll regret. It also gives the other person room to feel heard. Therapist Esther Perel emphasizes that silence during conflict doesn't mean withdrawal. It means staying present without escalating. Example: a married couple locked in a cycle of fighting tried a new approach, a 5-second pause before responding to each other. It felt strange at first, but within weeks their arguments became shorter and less explosive. When emotions rise, pause. Even say, "I need a moment." Let the other person speak fully before replying. Don't be afraid of silence between responses. Let it sit. In your next disagreement, focus on breathing through your urge to react immediately. Count to 5 in your head. 3. Listening, for real. Most of us overestimate how good we are at listening. True listening is active and often silent. Julian Treasure, a sound expert and TED speaker, talks about conscious listening. It involves being silent long enough for the speaker to open up fully. Example: a manager asked his team member how they felt about a failed project. Instead of offering feedback, he simply nodded and waited. The team member shared that they were struggling with burnout, which was the real issue. Ask open-ended questions, then listen. Use non-verbal cues: nodding, eye contact, leaning in. Don't interrupt. Don't rush. Record yourself in conversation. How often do you interrupt? Practice letting others finish fully. 4. Leadership and public speaking. Pauses aren't just dramatic, they're strategic. Barack Obama used pauses for impact. He trusted the moment to carry the message. Steve Jobs used silence to let ideas sink in during Apple keynotes. Example: during a product launch, a tech CEO paused for 5 seconds before revealing a key statistic. That pause built suspense and drove the point home. In speeches, pause after key points. Use silence instead of filler words like and like. In meetings, don't rush to respond. Think, then speak. 5. Intimacy and connection. Silence in relationships is powerful. It shows presence, empathy, trust. Example: a woman lost her father and told a friend. The friend didn't try to console her with words. She simply sat with her, held her hand, said nothing. That was the moment she felt most supported. When someone shares pain, just listen. Don't fix. Let silence hold space for emotion. Allow eye contact and presence to do the talking. In your next deep conversation, resist the urge to give advice immediately. Just be there. Notice what silence brings out. Silence isn't a void, it's a space. And that space can be full of meaning, power, connection, and clarity. We've talked about how silence shifts power in negotiations, de-escalates conflict, deepens listening, strengthens leadership, builds intimacy. The next time you find yourself reaching for a quick reply, filling a pause, or reacting impulsively, try stopping. Let the silence work. It might reveal something you wouldn't have seen otherwise. So here's your challenge. This week, try using silence intentionally. Let a pause linger. Count to 3 before you respond. See how it feels. And then come back here. Drop a comment. What happened? Did it change the tone of a conversation? Did you hear something you might have missed? If you found value in this video, like, comment, and subscribe.